Now, you should be able to hear me, so I will be talking about forensic-ready software systems. It is meant as systematic preparation for potential forensic investigation. You need to prepare in advance for incident, not wait for it to happen, but do something beforehand. And why would we do that? Because after the incident, the actual investigation, if you want to know what happened, who did it, who is responsible, it is very expensive. It is hard to do. It takes a lot of time, and there may be law enforcement involved, and they have another set of requirements. And it is good to have something before to really minimize the cost and have strategies to talk with law enforcement if they are involved, if there's a break of law. So the first, it was meant as a set of guidelines for evidence collection, for handling of the evidence, presentation, staff training, some escalation policies. Really, it was meant to help organizations or enterprises to deal with this potential and to increase the likelihood of success. If they want to do an internal audit or internal investigation, they want to be successful because the time they invest to get to know what actually happened, they want to have it paid off. And for law enforcement, if they are involved, handing the case to them, again, it must have some properties that they require to successfully prosecute if it's an intentional attack. Recently, it was tackled from software point of view, from software engineering point of view. It is about preparing the system during its development. So we are making software systems that are prepared for this potential of a cyber attack and subsequent investigation. It was taken as a non-functional requirement or high-level non-functional requirement. Its sub-requirements are related to the evidence, like its availability to really have the evidence, to have it relevant to our case, have it minimal, so to not have it too much unnecessary data, just what we need, link it together, and have it assured integrity, non-repudiation, and of course, it should be legally obtained. These are some requirements on these systems, on the data they are dealing with. Now, this highly correlates with cybersecurity, because in systems, cybersecurity is not the question if the system fails or if there will be an attack. The question is rather, when will the attack happen? When will it fail? When there will be incident? And that's why we need the forensic readiness, because when it happened, then it's time to investigate it and to be prepared for it. So we are essentially we are preparing for the failure of our cybersecurity measures and what to do then. So then, do we have all the data we can use to really know what happened and who did it? And with this information, can we prevent it in the future? Let's make some illustration. Let's say this is our critical software. King is our critical software, like in medieval times. if we want to protect king, what do we do? Well, we can build a castle walls and moat. This is essentially our firewall, our IDS. It protects the system and it checks the incoming persons and say, yes, you can enter, no, you can't. But there's the problem. This notion of security is external security. But once we get inside of the castle, then there's none. Actually, there is. If there's some kind of malicious insider and is inside the castle walls, he can do whatever he wants. But if we employ some guards that are operating inside the walls for us inside the systems, then we have better chances. Example of these guards are essentially audit logs, because they are monitoring what is happening. We don't have to catch the attacker red-handed, but if after the incident, after the successful incident, we have enough data to localize him and persecute him, then it suffices. Of course, this data we are dealing with, this audit data, they are highly sensitive. It might be about people's behavior, their tracking. Those are highly private data. So we need to understand that and we need to prepare for that, because if there's some kind of regulation, it may be conflict with gathering all those data and this regulation. Of course, this can have performance issues because extensive logging, yeah, it might create too much stress for the system. And of course, employing all of these is costly and it takes time. So the question is it worth it? Well, the attacks won't go away. They will happen. So that's why we want to have strategies to investigate with lower impact on actual business. Because if the attacks won't go away and they will happen, then it will impact our business. So we want to lower it and still prevent it in the future. And without those strategies, there might not be enough data to do this. And furthermore, if the data are bad or the processing is bad, it can create misleading evidence. For example, 2 years ago, there was a case in Denmark when they used data from ISP, those were tracking data from cell phones and mobile phones. And 2 years ago, they find out that this tracking was produced misleading information. So they have to revise all the cases and revisit them and also cancel some sentences. So the impact was that some people were released from prison because they were convicted on misleading information. And again, we want to prevent that. So to spot all these problems and these trade-offs, we conducted interviews with forensic practitioners, and I will show some preliminary data or preliminary conclusions. Well, we identified some set of problems with forensic readiness. Mostly it's about data. There's too much of it in various formats, various degrees of quality. Also, there were some problems with organization, like the lacking strategy, no documentation. There was problem with communication internal or external. So like when there's incident, people tend to not communicate it properly and might try to cover it because they are afraid of potential precautions. Also, as I said, forensic readiness is highly correlated to security. So adequate security and adequate security measures can even prevent the need for forensic readiness or postpone it for a longer time, which is actually wanted. And there's problem with technology, the fast changes of technology, different systems. The forensic readiness needs to be up to date with it. This also creates problem. So how can forensic readiness software help with these problems? They can ensure that the data are easily recoverable in a good format and protected from all unauthorized access. Standard form of this data collection or recovery would certainly help the investigators after the incident did happen. The systems should also have documented data sources and capabilities. What data can they provide and what it can give to answer more complex questions than the usual if there exists a file that have certain properties. Forensic readiness software can automatically answer more complex questions, give more detailed information, and also have it trustworthy. So we can really trust the data they produced. For that, we want to ensure it. And this is an open challenge in software development. And the aim of my work is to answer the questions, is the evidence handled correctly and can it be trusted? Or if there are any processing errors. For that, I'm working on checklists, methods and techniques to really assure that, to help software developers to produce forensic ready software, which will again help investigators and organizations in cases which I illustrated. I got a data model that is dealing with how can it help with hardening, starting from raw data. We want to harden it, process it. Each of these arrows you see here, for each of these arrows, it needs to be verified that this was done correctly. Because if there's an error in the processing, which means the arrow, then it can be misleading. So there's one style of verification. If you can see, there's a dotted line. This is a line between where, from the point of view of organization, the organization have control, can do proactive measures. And if there's a law enforcement and they will seize or request some kind of data for evidence, that is out of control of the organization. So we also need to work with that. Where is the control? What can we do? How can we prevent it? And to conclude this, the forensic readiness is a vital part of security. We need systematic preparation for this potential forensic investigation. Of course, there are trade-offs, but also there are benefits of this proactive measures. And if this is verified, we can testify due diligence to really show this was done correctly. This is in good shape. And how to do this exactly? This is work in progress.